Well, good morning, everybody. I hope you can hear me. I hope you can see me and all the other things that I usually say at this point in time. This point in time being Thursday, the 20th of February. That was an odd way of saying February. Anyway, let me see if the stream has started and then we can, starting or whatever, right? Oh, here we go. Yeah, it works. Wonderful. Hey, Ori, how are you this morning? Yeah, I woke up at like 6:30. I'm shocked. I've been awake for like 90 minutes already, which is too much, if you ask me. Yeah, uh, I do in fact have things I need to do during these productivity sprints this morning. I need to write an email to the mayor of this city, which, yeah, it's going to be fun. I mean, it's about an upcoming theater project and stuff like that. So it's actually something cool. If I manage to write that, it's always a bit difficult because I struggle with writing sort of official correspondence stuff like messaging or calling, in fact, offices, banks, anything like that. I get like massive panic attacks every time I have to do that. So we'll see how good I'll be with this email thing. I think it might work because I'm gonna write it and then I'm gonna send it to some other people involved in this project, and then they give me feedback, and then we sign off on it after a while. So doing this by committee does, I think, help me overcome that anxiety because I don't have to just write something and click send. So we'll see. That's something I need to do during sprints this morning, and of course. I should start filling out the forms for my unemployment money for next month because, otherwise it'll take forever until I get that, if I get it and all of that. So we'll have to see how that goes. Hello, Britain. Good morning. Yes, I saw you messaged Daria and me. I just haven't had time to read those messages yet because I spent the time until right now with listening to the newest episode of the Behind the Bastards podcast, which felt essential. And the Demi-Drek is also awake, still awake. How far are you with your Memories of Ice reading now? And yeah, I did read or finish reading Know My Name by Chanel Miller yesterday. Highly recommend that if you want to be sad. It's certainly a frustrating book in a lot of ways. It obviously hits very hard because books about sexual assault are never easy to read, and neither is this one. But I think it's a really really good one if you want to understand sort of like the cultural things that are behind any individual case, but also look at the individual case because those things are obviously connected. And you know, for no particular reason, I think a lot of people on BookTube should probably read that, and maybe one or two will actually learn something. But now that we have reestablished the patriarchy and all is alive and all is well again, so maybe it's just too late. Who knows? I highly recommend the book, though. It's really, really, really excellent. The fact that Chanel does narrate the audiobook herself makes it probably hit even harder if you get the audiobook. But yeah, I think everyone should do that. Might have to make a video on it. We will see if I feel confident enough in having things to say about it. Who knows? There's some interesting bits and pieces in there that I also need to figure out how to talk about that because they stood out like as the kind of things that make me not make me, but like the kind of things that are sort of like red flags for me, like having Deepak Chopra, whatever his name is, quote that as a motivational thing happening, and I'm like, that guy's a massive grifter. You shouldn't even mention his name in a book. Like, I don't know, find something else. You can narrativize this much. It doesn't have to be deep crack, right? But like, you know. But yes, Behind the Bastards, excellent podcast about the worst people in history. I highly recommend it if you don't know it, Britain. If you want to learn a lot about Hitler's sex life and drugs, it's the podcast for you. If you want to learn about the amazing childhood of Saddam Hussein, it's the podcast for you. If you want to learn about all the abominable things Jerry Falwell did, still the podcast for you. So highly recommend it. It's really, really interesting stuff. Always highly entertaining and all of that. So yeah, check it out. It's got like hundreds of episodes by now. And yeah, the one this morning that they uploaded on YouTube this morning, I think it came out on the podcast app a couple of days ago, was of course about Tony Alamo. It's part one of that. We'll see. A cult leader from the Christian cult leader from the 60s and 70s and 80s. So yeah. Fun times. Oh, which is the new Hutton lecture? I think the last one I listened to came out a couple of weeks ago about something, something. Uh, was it about the New Witch or something like that? That was, I think, the last one I listened to. But I'll check for that because always worth listening to, and good guy. Also, someone who seems to be very, very. I mean, you get it. Obviously, as a professor, of course, he's very happy to hear his own voice. But someone who is, from what I've seen, very open to jumping on podcasts and all of that. So that's nice for like someone who does have like actual academic clout and everything, being willing to be this public facing. There's like an old one where he talks about one like a fairy podcast about different fairy stuff, and he talks about his own experience encountering a Leon She in Ireland somewhere, and no, not in Ireland, in England actually, and fun stuff, like really cool guy. Oh, that's a fun one. That's a very fun one there with Caladan Brood and Krupp and Krupp, or however you want to pronounce him, and and the hammer. And the mule. There's always a mule. True. Well, Caladan Brood is one of those characters I very much empathize with. I just wish I had the kind of hammer to just, do stuff like that when I'm upset. Ooh, nice. The Horned God. I see. That's really cool. The Horned God even shows up in The Adventures of Amina al-Sirafi at one point. So nice one. I gotta listen to that. I will definitely check that one out. So yeah, I do need to find a new book today for listening to when I go to the gym. Ideally, it would be Shadow Captain by Alistair Reynolds and so forth. But right now, I still struggle with reading fiction at the moment, and I know obviously as soon as I start Shadow Captain, I'll be hooked again because it's a fast-paced, highly entertaining adventure story. So I should probably just do that. But there's also like a bunch of nonfiction stuff that I'm still interested in and that I have sort of like on. Yeah, well, that I might also go to. Like, so if the lecture was from yesterday, like if the Gresham lecture was like live streamed yesterday, they usually are then edited and put up like a week later or something. So I'll look out for that when it comes up. But good to know. It sounds like something I'd be interested in. Carrot is very much a fun character in a lot of ways. That is true. So yeah, I could, as I said, like either read Shadow Captain or maybe read another Sarah Ahmed book, because those are always, helpful to read. Highly recommend all of that. And I have both her Queer Phenomenology and Living a Feminist Life on my list of stuff that I wanted to read. So maybe I'll go with that. Yeah, okay. So if it was yesterday, then I guess it'll take a while. They live stream them on YouTube, and then afterwards take the live stream down and sort of split the lecture and the Q&A bits in apart and upload those separately, like a week after or something. So there's that. I did watch the whole the replay, the edited replay of the David Graeber lecture last week, and very, very interesting lecture. Obviously, they took out the Nazi thing, which is good. I obviously, so yeah, I don't know exactly what those Nazis wanted beyond just being Nazis, because I wasn't there during the live thing, but yeah, really, really interesting stuff that the forensic architecture people are doing in general, not just in Gaza. So yeah, lots of stuff to do, I guess, this morning. So I mean, that's a good thing, right? Like having stuff that, like, small bits and pieces that can be done easily, I think is something that I often need, because if it's just like this huge project, it's so easy to just do nothing and procrastinate. But if it's like, yeah, well, gotta listen to this lecture, I gotta, you know, write this email, gotta fill out this form, gotta do this small bit, this small bit. All of that makes it easier for me, at least, to do these kind of things. Oh, just random vandalism. I mean, yeah, it kind of makes sense if they just, like, spam stuff with like swastikas. That doesn't sound like pro-Israel propaganda. But yeah, still very like obviously frustrating as hell. But yeah, the lecture itself, I think, is really. I like the whole idea of sort of including the soil into and how, all of that stuff. Really, really well done. I should probably see if I can find some of I.L. Weitzman's books, because that sounds like something I might, well, not enjoy reading. I like the idea of, like, saying enjoy, right? Like, even like after Know My Name, which I finished yesterday, and it's a harrowing tale of surviving sexual assault and how the judicial system fails again and again, all of that stuff. And then, because it's Audible, right? You have this Audible clip that they always have at the end of every audio. It's like, Audible hopes you've enjoyed this listen, and I'm like, do you though? Do you though? Really? Are you sure with this specific book that I enjoyed it? My news, it kind of depends on whether we're talking international news or German news. There's like for German news, it's fairly simple. Like, if you just want to see headlines, the German sort of like public broadcast thing, the like German's news system, like, we have some people call it state owned, but it's not it's taxpayer funded television and radio, and that stuff is very, very good when it comes to just like headlines and so forth, because they are sort of like proportionally run by like every state in Germany and so forth. It's not like they have like a specifically political slant beyond maybe just being maybe what you might call socially conservative in a way that they're obviously not out there uh, arguing for revolution or anything of the sort. But beyond that, then don't have like a party political bias in any way. So that's like a good way of starting, just to see what is going on, and then from there on, obviously, I have say news sites and newspapers and their websites that have like political slants that I am more amenable to for German stuff. When it comes to international news, well, obviously those broadcasters also do international news, but they often like miss out stuff. And there I just check some international newspapers and stuff like that. Obviously, The Guardian is one of those websites, and newspapers that I do just look over and see what works, and from there on, you can always check other stuff. But that's roughly what I do, I guess. Hey, Apollo, how you doing? Yeah, Britton, that's the thing. Like, I think the problem is that we often go like, "Oh, it's comedy, so it has to be somewhat less well written or whatever." We assume that comedy somehow is less than that, but it's not. And Pratchett certainly knows how to write stuff very well. I mean, he has a very specific style where he often, does these. I guess what wouldn't work in like a more serious or whatever you want to call it fantasy. Obviously, Pratchett is very serious, but where people are focusing on immersion. You don't have to do that with the style that Pratchett has chosen. So he can, make comparisons to media and stuff in our world and so forth, which makes it very, very evocative if you get the references that he does. And it's like, okay, yeah, that this by doing those sort of like connections to our world, to movies, to music and so forth in our world, he can create atmosphere in a way that is very evocative. All right, but let's get started. I need to write an email to the mayor, which is, and I'll talk to you in 45. So at the top of the hour. How's that? And I am back. How did we all do? I hope we all did exceptionally well. I mean, I assume that's what happened. Hey, Kat. Good morning. How are you? Yeah. I did start writing that email letter, whatever, to our mayor. Had to look up how to spell his name first, which is kind of, I don't know what to say. It's a bit of a. I feel bad for not knowing how to spell his name. On the other hand, it's one of those German names where it's like, is it two S? Is it one S? Is it the weird German uh, S thing? I don't know. Yeah, it turns out it is one S. So here we go. Um, so I did that and did go through messages, emails, all of that stuff. And as I said, I have started writing the thing. See, that's one of the places where I feel like generative AI, like ChatGPT or whatever, could in fact be helpful because you can make that, write the. You could make that write like a formal letter to the mayor and then just go through it and correct stuff and so forth, and it would save me that moment of overcoming my anxiety of typing the first couple of words in that. But we don't do that around here. I mean, I don't do that because fuck OpenAI basically. Perfect timing. I hope it was an interesting YouTube video. Good luck with that, with the sleeping over the weekend. I guess I don't get to sleep that much because I have to. Well, I don't have to. I'm going to the concert on Friday, and that's like a 3-hour drive away, so I won't get back home until like, yeah, I don't know, 2 a.m. or whatever. And then on Saturday, there's going to be a live stream, I guess, which is usually the kind of thing that goes way longer than it should. And then on Sunday, it's election time, and that will be good. Nothing bad will actually happen, I'm sure. So yeah, somehow I doubt the weekend will be a relaxing one. But if you can manage like a 14-hour sleeping marathon, I wish you luck and I congratulate you on that achievement if it happens. Yeah, that would be what I would prefer, Ori. But I don't think that's how it works. And as good question, like he's got a PhD or like he's got like a doctor or something. I don't know what kind of doctor he is. He might actually be a medical doctor, which would be interesting. Or maybe he's like a law guy. That's usually the kind of people that end up in politics, I think, in a lot of ways. Usually it's law people, which does not necessarily improve my opinion of people that study law. But the election is for the federal parliament of Germany, the Bundestag, and thus also indirectly the chancellor and the government, basically. So it's the big one, as they say in a lot of ways. So could be, or it could be. I haven't checked. Like years ago when he was first running for mayor, he actually did go like door to door in selected parts of the city, and rang doorbells and talked to everyone. And yeah, he actually came to my flat, and my dog was very happy to see him. I don't know if he was happy to see my dog, but I still had a dog at the time, and the dog just like got super excited. Anyone rang the door and just like ran out and almost bowled him over. So that's good. Um, no, like as things go, he's a solid mayor, I guess. He's from the Social Democrat Party, which is, I guess, as far right as anyone in this town here would vote. So there's that. But yeah, and to be clear, like it's more like a formal letter because we have like a project for like a theater performance thing, and we want to ask him, obviously for support, but also offer him to have like an opening speech there and stuff like that. So it's a it's a positive thing, and I'm pretty sure he'll say yes. We'll see where things go there. Yeah, that's true. I don't like in German politics. I don't think it's that many historians. I mean, obviously there's historians, but I feel like a lot of people that sort of end up in the top ranks usually have something like often have like done law or economics and that kind of stuff. Obviously, famously, Angela Merkel did have her doctorate in physics, which that's cool. But since then, I think it's usually something macroeconomics, law, that kind of stuff. So, which is not so good. And yes, it's sad that people can study history and then go, clearly, this is where we need to go now. Yeah, it's definitely going to be fun with the elections. I mean, as I said, I thought about making like a video explaining why this is important and so forth. I still may do that if I have enough inspiration to get it like figured out in how to explain this without getting too much into the weeds and so forth. Who knows? Yes, although to be fair, Ori, like you could get my like when I still had a dog, you could get her attention and her undying devotion by giving her sausages. And to be clear, if you would provide me with enough food for free, I am also willing to elect you mayor of this town because there's a limited amount of damage you can do as a mayor in this town. So if it matters enough for you to give me food, I might just go for that. No, to be fair, this is very very much like city specific here. Like this is a very sort of left leaning progressive city in a lot of ways. That so far, and we'll see how that goes with the next sort of like elections for like town council, city council, and all of that. But so far, there is like the AfD, the right wing party in Germany doesn't have like a seat on the city council or anything because it's it's not going to happen in this city. It's a very like it's a university town. It was one of the universities that was very sort of like active, where you had like a lot of active participation and so forth during like the 1968 and so forth student protests and everything, and a lot of those kind of people just stayed at the university, of course, then as professors and all of that. So you have a lot of people that have basically they may not be far left in a lot of stuff that you would consider far left today, but people that were well, a lot of like hippies and people out of that sort of like stripe that are still here, and those people, while having become somewhat socially conservative in a lot of ways, they still vote like Social Democrat or Green Party. The Green Party is very strong here, like Social Democrat or Green. They don't vote like for the Christian Democrats or beyond. That's city limits. Obviously, if you go beyond that and go into like the villages and around the city, their stuff is much more conservative and very right wing. So it's a bit of a contrast. Yeah, I mean we've spoken about that before, like the weird difference in what words mean in politics in the US versus Europe and so forth. And yeah, I mean I wouldn't call them right, the Social Democrats like far right. I mean, obviously politics change about like different positions, all of that stuff, right? I would call Social Democrats in Germany sort of like center, slightly liberal, slightly neoliberal, in a lot of ways socially conservative, but not in a not in a too harmful way, right? they're like pro gay marriage. They are tacitly supporting trans rights, at least in and so forth. They may be dragging their feet, but they're not actively fighting against progress. Is how I would describe that. And then to the right of that, you have all the people that are, very actively trying to hold things back and going in the opposite direction. So that's how I would describe social democrats in Germany at the moment. Yeah, I mean, like, I think so far, still, it is fairly easy to move to Europe from the US, right? If you have like a passport and everything, you can get like a several month kind of visa just to come and visit, and that basically allows you to travel free through all of Europe. And if you get a job here, you can then get a work visa and so forth. And if you go to like one of the largest cities, you don't even need to be, very fluent in like the local language, at least say in Germany or um, you know, guess the Netherlands and Belgium up to a point, right? You get by with English fairly well. And then you can sort of like settle in. So I feel like moving to Europe is not that hard at the moment for America. Like it may change. I mean, who knows? Who knows how much the U.S. is current Trump administration is willing to destroy diplomatic ties with Europe up to the point where it may impact, visa status and stuff like that. Who knows? But so far, I think it's still fairly easy. Well, in that case, you're basically set, right? If you have French citizenship, you can just like go to France and start from there. And what with the EU still sort of believing at least in free moving within the EU, you can then basically go wherever the fuck you want. So yeah, good luck with that. I hope it works out for you. All right, so shall we try to be somewhat more productive and I finally try to finish that letter to the mayor? Yeah, yeah, Kat. But I think you mentioned that yesterday. There was like an interview with one of the leaders of the Max Planck Society, which is one of those research societies in Germany, and they are actively targeting U.S. researchers already. Going like, hey, what with the defunding over there, you might want to come over because we still have funding here. You might want to come here. So this is already happening. Yeah, I mean that of course is like a huge deal. Obviously money and employment, but also like moving to a different continent basically means leaving most of the stuff you have behind and like I don't know, putting it in storage and then slowly moving the essential stuff over or whatever. I I can see how that especially with moving to a different continent is I guess the big deal here. Like if you move to like a different country on the same continent, you can potentially just put everything into a truck and drive, but you can't do that easily if you move like somewhere like this. Certainly get that. All right, so sprints for like about 45-ish minutes, and I'll be back right before the end of the hour, and we can talk a bit before I run to the gym. And I am back. It is almost 10 a.m. and I have, in fact, written a couple more lines of this very, very formal letter. Turns out writing very formal German is not exactly my strong suit, to put it mildly. But we persevere somehow. And yeah, thanks. Thanks. It is going so far. And I'm gonna send it over to some other people, and they're gonna look over it and tell me what they think, and then we can maybe adjust some words and make sure it says everything we want to say in the way that they want to hear it, and then maybe communication does in fact happen. Who knows? Stranger things have in fact happened before, so we will see. So that's what I did. Actual productivity. Who'd have thought it? It's I'm as surprised as you. So I hope you did well as well, and got something done, or read a good book, or did whatever else makes you happy at this time of the day. I will now pack my stuff and run to the bus so I can go down to the gym and do further harm to my body. I think that's how that works, right? So yeah, thanks for hanging out. I will do sprints tomorrow morning, and then there is, of course, the weekend. I will try to record some videos. I know I've been slacking off on that front. We'll see if I manage to get something done today or tomorrow. And yeah, thanks for hanging out. I always appreciate that. We will certainly talk more in the future. Have a good day, do something fun, or have a good night and get some sleep. Both are valid ways of spending time. So